In a democracy, citizens need to be informed. Informed about policies, issues, homelessness, law enforcement, and social services. In order for people to make good decisions that affect their lives, they need to be informed. Conversations with Erroll Parker. Welcome to our program. Today's guest is attorney Everett Glen, the founder of the Education Leadership Institute, a nonprofit agency that assists Southern California inner-city high school and college athletes to matriculate in and through higher education. Among the many activities the organization sponsors are seminars, workshops, and field trips designed to broaden the horizon of these talented young men and boys. Today, Everett and I will be discussing ESP's mission and his own views of the current state of the African American student athlete. Everett, thanks for being on our program.
Thanks for having me. It's my pleasure.
The history of the African American athlete is a very intriguing study. You have dedicated yourself into this organization that you have to help the young student athlete to take advantage of the opportunities that historically African American athletes didn't have. What has motivated you to do what you do?
Well, my own personal experience, and in terms of having played sports from the time I was young, and not ever having a desire or any kind of belief that I was going pro in sports, but rather that I could use the lessons that you learn through sports. Hard work pays off, teamwork, focus. You know, if you lose today, you could win tomorrow. Never giving up, that sort of thing. I was able to use those things in the classroom and in life, and a thought occurred to me when I consider the failure rate of these guys who are playing sports today, both in terms of not being high school ready. Okay, and so if you're not high school ready, it's going to be hard to be college ready. And if you're not college ready, it's going to be hard to graduate from college.
That's right.
And so the thought occurred that, again, just like in my life, where people intervened when I was in 6th grade, and I was in programs from 6th grade to 12th grade. So by the time I got to college, I was confident in myself beyond what I could do on the basketball court. And so if we could duplicate that, then we could achieve, hopefully, the same kind of success.
And that's what you're trying to do with your institute.
That's right.
Guys who are probably not either play college basketball or even professional basketball, which is a pipe dream. You're trying to develop their other options career-wise.
That's right. Using sports to show them how not to focus just on sports.
Is that hard?
Not really. The hardest part is just getting them in the room. Mm-hmm. But once you get them in the room and you show them the opportunities, again, like in my case, I didn't go pro in sports, but I went pro through law in sports so that I could represent Jerry Rice or Richard Dent or Reggie White or Clark Kellogg or Willie Gault, Gil Byrd, those kind of guys. So they can see that you can still participate in the game and enjoy some of the excitement of it. But I've been practicing law for 42 years, so if I had tried to play, my career would have been long, long over.
Now, you take these young boys, primarily African-American boys from the inner city.
That's right.
What kind of challenges away from sports do the African-American student-athlete face just trying to be successful in the classroom?
Well, the biggest obstacle in my mind is just the lack of how should I say it, the confidence that the district or the teachers or the expectation, I think, is what I'm looking for.
The low expectation.
That's right, yeah. What we preach is just greatness. In fact, one of the questions we ask them is, what's the biggest obstacle to becoming great? And it's good, okay, being good is the biggest obstacle to becoming great. And so they get satisfied, and there's no expectation. I mean, I've had 4 boys go through the district myself.
Sons of yours?
Sons of mine, yeah. And so I think if you don't have 2 parents in the house, if you definitely don't have a man in the house who can go up to the school, go up to the school for open house and all the PTA and that kind of stuff, and they can know, then I think because of the number of kids they got to deal with, sometimes the teachers, they look at their job as identifying the kids who want to learn and the kids who don't want to learn. And then we're going to separate them, and we're going to teach the ones who want to learn, and we're just going to maintain the ones who don't want to learn.
Now, you bring up a good point. As I saw on your website, and I was struck by the photo of your website of a family. Now, you talk about the absence of the African-American man in the family. You're stressing matrimony for these young men to start families and be responsible husbands first and then fathers.
Absolutely. Well, become men first.
Yes, okay.
Okay, because if they don't become men, the rest of the stuff is out.
That's right.
But again, it's all taken, we use the same strategies that we used when I represented these pro athletes. So that Clark Kellogg, for example, he's married to the same woman that he met and married when he was coming out of college. Same with Gil Bird and Anthony Hancock and these guys. They were #1 draft picks, big-time athletes. But we know that everything begins and ends at home.
That's right.
And part of the reason these guys, there's a statistic they throw out that 80% of them wind up bankrupt and unemployed after they play. The biggest factor in that is that they get divorced, that they marry the wrong person for the wrong reasons, and then when the career's over, the wife leaves and takes half of whatever's left, and so it's going to be hard to make that last for many years.
Well, let's hop over to the graduation rate of the African American male athlete. Now, I've gotten mixed signals in terms of data.
Yeah.
Recent USC data says that they're struggling in terms of graduation rate. And then there's another NC2A, I guess, or federal data that says there's progress being made. From your perspective, the graduation rate of the university graduation rate of the African American male, where are we right now? Are we doing okay or not?
No. I mean, it would be criminal, I think, if it affected white student athletes the way it affects black student athletes, and they would have a congressional inquiry, I think, into what's happening. But again, it starts at a young age, so that if you're not high school ready in the 9th grade and not college ready in 12th grade, it's hard to be able to do college level work. And so part of the problem is these colleges and universities, they're bringing kids on campus who are not ready to do the work, and rather than meet them where they are, they throw them into this college environment, expecting them to do college level work, knowing that they're not prepared to do it. So, and they don't have remedial programs or anything like that to really help them get up to speed.
So you're saying, as Dr. Harry Edwards was saying, that you feel like the African American athlete is being exploited.
Oh, all along the way. I mean, and it's actually going lower now, because there used to be a time high school sports wasn't on television. Now you get games of the week and teams playing all over the country, and it's being televised on ESPN, that sort of thing. So there's this pressure at every level now to win.
Well, how can you say that the African American athlete is being exploited every when they're making millions of dollars and they're getting a college education? I mean, that's the people that are disagreeing with you on your point, saying that these are millionaires and they're getting a free education.
Well, most of them don't get an education, #1, and even the ones who graduate, you'd have to. It's been my experience in dealing with them one-on-one, and when I represented them and dealt with them like that. Most of them don't come out with the same kind of knowledge and experience that a non-athlete would have in terms of the college experience. They can't do internships, they can't work, they can't major in whatever they want to major in. If you look around the country, we know that there's certain schools that have certain majors. Even here in Southern California, if you go to UCLA, you're going to major mostly in government. Just look down the roster. Long Beach State, if you look and see what these kids are majoring in. So they don't get the benefit of the bargain. If they got the benefit of the bargain, then maybe that would have some weight. And #2, there's only a few of them that become millionaires. I mean, only 6% of them get a Division I scholarship. Okay, and then less than 1% of them ever going to get paid to play. So there's a small handful of them, but when you look at the volume of them, that help these colleges and universities make money, for example. I mean, they've got 6 major conferences that probably combine about 60 schools, and these schools make hundreds of millions of dollars. And again, only a handful of these guys are going to go pro, but the college sports industry is actually bigger than the pro, because there's only 32 NFL teams. Okay, again, we get 60 top college football teams in basketball and football. So when you look at it economically, for sure, there's a few guys who are getting paid, but that's the only money that we make in the game is what they pay the players. But when it comes to spending that money, I mean, again, owners, if they couldn't pay the money if they weren't making it. So whatever the players are getting paid, owners are making much more.
Well, let's get to the subject then of the student athlete at the university level getting a stipend. Some people are advocating that these athletes should get a stipend at least while they're at the university to pay for certain expenses.
Yeah, but I would agree with that. I would agree with that. I don't think they should get paid. I mean, I don't think you turn it into a job.
Okay.
Unless you just change the whole dynamic of college sports. I mean, because if they're amateurs, then they don't go to school. So what you do is they should have programming, and they should pay for this programming with the money on every campus around here. They get revenue-generating sports, football and basketball, and then those two sports support the entire athletic department. So the non-revenue-generating sports of tennis and golf and synchronized swimming and water polo and that sort of thing. Probably about 30 or 40 black boys on every one of these campuses are generating the revenue to support all these programs, coaching staff, scholarships, and everything. So to me, it would seem like they would take some of that money and spend it on these boys who are actually helping to generate it to make sure that they have the best chance to be successful in life beyond sports.
Is any university even inching toward that equity or taking care of not exploitation the athlete that you?
Well, I mean, they all would say that they do. I mean, the NCAA has a program called CHAMPS, which is a life skills program that's on every campus. The problem is with the demands time-wise on these guys who play the revenue-generating sports of basketball and football. They, for the most part, don't even have time to take advantage of the programs that were started to try to help the student athlete. They're helping the student athlete, but they're helping the student athlete who's playing golf, who's playing tennis, who's playing baseball, synchronized swimming, water polo. So in terms of equity, those sports are predominantly white sports, okay, and the athletes are predominantly white. So you have football and basketball players that are predominantly black generating revenue, support the entire athletic department, and then they're using those proceeds to support those non-revenue generating sports. All the while, the kids who are generating the money are failing academically, they're failing socially. There's all kinds of help that they need, and everybody knows they need it. And I would think that rather than pay the athletes, is that they develop some real programming so they meet these guys where they are. You want to bring a guy in who's got an 8th grade reading level because he, can rebound or block shots.
Well, why should that student athlete who's reading at an 8th grade level, who is not succeeding in high school, be allowed to be on a college campus?
Well, he shouldn't, but I mean, that's the reality of it. If you can play, I've represented guys, for example, high school guys who wanted to transfer from one university to another after they accepted a scholarship offer. And that's where it became clear to me. There was a local kid, a Long Beach Poly kid, whose name I won't mention, but he accepted a scholarship to a Pac-12 school, and then he didn't qualify. Ultimately didn't qualify. But they had him participate in the week-long practice that they have before school starts in September. And under NCAA rules, him participating in that practice now makes him a transfer student, even though he never enrolled in that university. And the problem was that they knew that he hadn't been cleared, right? And so if he's not cleared, technically he shouldn't even been allowed to participate in those practices.
But he was allowed to.
He was allowed to make him a transfer student. So he came to me and asked me if I could help him, because now another Pac-10 school wants to offer him a scholarship because he went to a junior college, took the class he needed to take in order to become eligible. And the rule was that if he had been admitted as a regular full-time student. And so I asked the NCAA, what do you mean a regular full-time student? Because I looked at his admissions letter from this major institution, and in his admissions letter, I got 4 boys that I put through college, and I've never seen a letter. My sons didn't get a letter like this that say that we're going to give you all this kind of help, and you're going to be in the same class as other people, but you're going to be going at a different level and a different speed. So I argued successfully that he wasn't admitted as a regular full-time student. And so he shouldn't be prohibited from transferring in terms of interconference transfers. They come to death penalty. You lose the year, you can't get athletically related financial aid. And we were able to get that reversed even without a hearing when I just raised these questions with the NCAA.
When we come back after this break, I want to talk about what your organization is trying to do about that, and also get into some other topics about the NFL protest,
Yes.
Colin Kaepernick, and some things in the future that there was a commission that was convened by Condoleezza Rice to look into the scandal that happened on the NCAA. I would like to get your views on that.
Yeah.
But we're going to take a break. Right after these messages, we'll talk about with Attorney Everett Glen about some issues related to the African American student athlete. We'll be right back after these messages. In a democracy, citizens need to be informed about policies, issues, homelessness, law enforcement, and social services. In order for people to make good decisions that affect their lives, they need to be informed. Conversations with Erroll Parker. Welcome back to Conversations with Erroll Parker. We're visiting with Attorney Everett Glen, who is the head of the Education Institute for African American, well, not just African American, but inner city athletes. And we're discussing the African American athlete, Attorney Glen, and you're representing them and the organizations you've started. Tell us about the BOSS program that you have. What are you trying to do with these student athletes?
Well, we're trying to show them how to turn their 15 minutes of fame into a lifetime of good fortune and impact, how to use sports to achieve success beyond sports, in life, at home, in school, and in business. I mean, in a nutshell. And then we want to have them use their definite and provable influence with their non-athlete peers so that we get those boys who don't play sports to also get infected with this disease called the desire to want to become great. You know.
I was impressed with your own personal story. I mean, most of these boys will not be great athletes, but you found a niche in the athletic industry, whether it's a physical therapist, whether it's a coach, whether it's an agent, that they can stay close to the game and
Exactly.
make a good life for themselves.
Not only stay close to the game, but again, they can. If you examine sports, I mean, like our academic component of the program is STEM-based. And so just imagine all the technology in sports. I mean, even we have a Math Madness competition, which is a takeoff of March Madness. So it's a single elimination math tournament where they have to solve increasingly more difficult math problems. So we're just using what they are passionate about,
Yes.
sports, to show them how to become equally passionate, because it takes the same kind of passion to be successful away from sports, showing them how to use that stuff in a way that heretofore, I mean, most successful people, I would think, look back to their participation in sports as the foundation for their success. You know, camaraderie and, you know, friends made and character developed. And
Teamwork.
Yes.
That kind of stuff.
But for our guys, it's like, you know, NBA or NFL or go home. And, you know, we got to change that dynamic, especially when you consider that in Long Beach, for example, 75% of these boys, when they graduate high school, they don't even qualify to go to college.
That's right. Now, you bring positive role models in front of these guys. Some of the guys that you have come in front were not that successful, but they have a story to tell.
Absolutely.
To tell the kids what not to do. And then, of course, you have some very high-powered, high-profile, not just African-American men, but men of all walks of life, to tell them about the success that they can experience through sports.
Absolutely. I mean, it's, again, everything is really based upon our own personal experience, because most of the folk who are part of the BOSS team, we have each successfully navigated the high school to college to professional ranks, achieving athletic and academic success. So we don't tell them what to do. There's a theory that if you tell them, they're going to forget, right? And if you teach them, they might remember. But if you involve them, that's when they learn. So everything we do is like a conversation. We ask them a lot of questions, and they're really smarter than we give them credit for. But again, if you ask an early question about the problem in the school district, is they don't have the same kind of confidence in the kids. We know that all of them are capable. They're all God's children, so they all got greatness inside of them, and we're in love with their potential. They just have to have somebody help them understand that they got this potential. And what makes the program unique is that it's year-round and it's multi-year, so that multiplier effect means over time, because that's what it takes to change this, is over time. And we call them drive-bys. So there's a lot of events that, that they get exposed to, like, one day, couple of hours, like you said, to have somebody come in and talk to them, tell them don't do drugs and do this, and they never see that person again. In our program, these guys have Glen Milborn, who, is a product of South Central Los Angeles, then went to Stanford and played a number of years in the NFL, and now he's got his own lobbying firm. Glen has been with these guys every summer, so they see Glen every summer.
Okay.
Clark Kellogg. I mean, they see these guys on a regular basis, and then during the school year, so it's not this, I'm here today and I'm telling you all this stuff, and I never see you again.
But the guys that you got involved with are involved with them.
That's right.
On at least a monthly basis and keeping them accountable. Let's zoom ahead to some real controversial subjects as it relates to the African-American athlete. We see Colin Kaepernick, who has started a real movement in terms of protesting, taking the knee. But now the NFL have taken their stance. They've pushed back, and they're saying that if these athletes come on the field and do any type of demonstration, whether it's kneeling or whatever, the team will be fined as well as they will be fined. What do you think about that rule?
Well, I think they're trying to solve a problem. Maybe they're putting I don't know which way it goes, put a Band-Aid on something, or it's not going to solve the problem. Okay, because the problem, and then the players, I don't even think, kneeling, fine, if you want to express yourself, that's fine. But on the player side, I think they would be better off doing something constructive in the communities that they want other people to save. So, I mean, that's part of our problem. We want other people to come save our community. Yet you have these guys who are in financial position, and they've got relationships. They could bring help. Magic Johnson, what did he do? He brought a lot of help. He brought businesses to the inner city. So he didn't take a knee, but he created some economic momentum that could solve a lot more problems, right?
Well, we're talking about apples and oranges here. When you're talking about something else a person who is successful can do to help a program like yours. But there are, if you look at what Kaepernick is saying, he is protesting against police brutality in the black community. So is that legitimate for him to do that, and the reaction that he's gotten from that?
Oh, I mean, it's legitimate for him to protest it because it's real, but again, I don't think the problem in our community is the police. Okay, the problem in our community is we got kids who don't know how to read, don't know how to write, don't know how to think. And therefore, then they get in these situations with the police, not to give the police a pass, but I'm 65 years old, and I have been stopped by the police, but I've never had an issue with the police. Even if they're wrong, I know how to handle myself. I'm not going to be challenging what they could do. And again, not to give them a pass, but the police are not the problem. And our focusing on the police, I think, is missing the problem. We're our own worst enemy. And so again, you get Kaepernick, if you want to make a point, then look at what the NFL is doing beyond what they're paying these guys. I mean, NFL, unlike every other industry in this country, they don't have a supplier diversity program. So there's no way for people who don't play sports to participate in that multi-billion-dollar industry. They're building stadiums all over the place. They're building one in Inglewood right now. Check and see how many minority contractors actually get business on that project in a city that's 99% minority.
So you're saying then the issue of police brutality should be pushed back on the back burner, and more opportunities these athletes who are protesting should be doing more in their own communities?
Not only that, but economics is the new civil rights. That That's what I've heard Jesse and Ralph and I mean Al, Reverend Al, all these guys. Economics is the new civil rights. Okay, so we're going back and talking about civil rights stuff in terms of the police, but what about all this money that's being made that we're not participating in? That we need to just take a stand. I mean, Nike, for example. I mean, just take it out of the league context. The gentleman that owns Nike is a multi-billionaire. Okay, and he pays LeBron James you know, what, 20 million or whatever he pays him, and that looks like a nice payday, but not when you compare to the $2 billion he's making off selling these shoes. My thinking is, why don't LeBron and Kobe start their own shoe company and make them the same place in China, or even start a factory here in the inner city and get some of these government. So again, I think our focus, just like on paying the players in the college level, we respond to what other people make issues as opposed to ourselves determining what the issues should be. For sure, there's an issue with brutality with police. I mean, there's definitely an issue there.
Okay.
But does that issue outweigh, we're at the bottom of everything. And so I'm saying the police, they can be dealt with if we had a better equipped black boy or black man, if he's more articulate, if he was a better critical thinker.
So you think if I'm understanding what you're saying, if the African-American student athlete was more educated, was more successful in the classroom, then that would mitigate some of the clashes that they would have with police?
That's right, yeah. I mean, it wouldn't necessarily stop, because again, I've been stopped a number of times, but I've never had an issue. They stop me, they give me a ticket, they go about their business, I go about my business. And if I have a problem with them stopping me, when I go to court, that's when I deal with that problem.
Okay, so we have situations now here where we see the African-American athlete who is at the bottom of, well, this African-American people in general, when you look at statistics,
yeah,
whether it's health, whether it's economics, whether it's all these type of things, at the bottom of the scale. And what you feel like your organization should do is working with these young athletes.
That's right.
Maximize their horizon in terms of the career opportunities they have, so they have a chance at a better life. Now, looking at it statistically, Attorney Glen, what type of impact, you say, let's say in the Long Beach area where your organization primarily is, even though it's Southern California,
yeah,
from a statistical standpoint, where would you like to see the numbers go in terms of high school graduation and university graduation?
Well, I think it should, there really shouldn't be a disparity between the numbers. I mean, for sure, 75% of these boys should not be graduating high school, not eligible to even apply to college. And already in just the 2 years that we've been operating this program in Long Beach, we now, through the data the school district has provided, all of our boys are outperforming their non-boss peers in every category that the district is tracking. So we're on the way to changing that number so that more of them will be competent in the core content areas. More of them will take algebra in 8th grade. More of them will be high school ready entering 9th grade. And if we can fix it at that point, then the rest will be easier. But again, if they're entering into high school, not ready for high school, they're just going to keep getting further and further behind because the demands of sports are going to increase, and they'll have more excuses not to do work.
Well, we certainly applaud what your organization is doing, the Educational Leadership Institute and the BOSS program, and the things that you have dedicated yourself to do here in Southern California and Long Beach in particular. And we wish you a lot of success, and thank you for coming on the program. We've discussed some very meaty issues in terms of the state of the African-American athlete, and we see your dream of them coming up in the world as far as their career is concerned as a very important issue. Thank you so much for being on our program.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
That was Attorney Everett Glen, who is the President, CEO, and founder of Education Leadership Institute here in Southern California, and he's doing a wonderful job, and we thank him for being on Conversations with Erroll Parker. We'll see you next time for some more important and exciting guests on this program. Good night. In a democracy, citizens need to be informed about policies, issues, homelessness, law enforcement, and social services. In order for people to make good decisions that affect their lives, they need to be informed. Conversations with Erroll Parker. Reggie Berry. Just remember that that's what we're just talking about.
I know, but then Reggie, at least what he told me, then he got into a conversation with these guys, and you can't never win when
you're saying you should have left it alone.
Hey, give me the ticket, whatever you want me to do, and let me go about my business, right? And then I will deal with you because I got your badge number and everything when I get out of here.